Hey, Algebra 1, today we're looking at lesson 6.5a, solve polynomial equations in factored form. And our objectives today are to use the zero product property. We already factored polynomials using the GFC, so we're not going to spend much time on that today. The zero product property is pretty awesome. And this is actually, I don't know, it's kind of like to me, it's pretty revolutionary as far as our ability to solve equations. This is going to open up our world quite a bit, so I like it. And the zero product property says if the product of two real numbers is 0, then at least one of the numbers is 0. So, and that totally makes sense to me. So what we're going to be doing though is we're going to be writing polynomials or getting polynomials that are in factored form, and then we're going to be able to solve with them. So it says when one side of an equation is a polynomial in factored form and the other side is 0, use the zero product property to solve the polynomial equations. And it says the solutions of a polynomial equation are called roots. And yeah, it's kind of an old term, but yeah, that's true. They are called roots. But you'll also hear zeros and of course just, solutions. So roots, zeros, they all kind of mean the same thing. And then, so let's dive in here. So the zero product property says if you got two things multiplying together equaling 0, and it could be more, I gotta stress that, then you know that one of them has to equal 0. If they're multiplying together and equaling 0, then one of these has to be 0. Either 2x has to be 0 or x minus 4 has to be 0. And so you solve the two equations. And it turns out a solution to this equation that was in factored form. Factored form means that it was written as a multiplication problem. This solves that equation. All right, so let's look at our second one. Zero product property. If two things multiplying together are equal to 0, then one of them could be 0 or the other could be 0, like so. And we get x equals 3 and x equals 9. And if you don't believe me, you can check those answers and you'll see pretty quickly that they both work. They both end up making 0. So what we're going to be doing pretty soon is we're going to be learning, we're going to use the GCF. We're going to factor using the GCF and then do the zero product property. We're also going to learn another way to factor. We're going to factor quadratics, and when you factor a quadratic, you don't use a GCF typically, but you can factor it and then solve it, it's powerful. It's pretty awesome that we can do that. This last blank here isn't especially helpful, but it says when two or more roots of an equation are the same number, the equation has repeated roots. And yeah, that's true. It's just not that important yet. We actually will come across that. Whoops, that was kind of weird. We actually will come across that pretty quick in one of our examples. That becomes more of an issue when you're in Algebra 2 and you're graphing some polynomials. The fact that it has repeated roots can have some significance on the graph. But I won't go into too much detail with that yet. You'll also call it multiplicity, which is kind of interesting. All right. Example 2, let's, I like these example 1, example 2 with, multiple problems. It's exciting. Okay, so example 2, solve each equation. So it's equal to 0. It's in factored form. It's a binomial times a binomial. So we can do the zero product property here. In class, I'm going to be honest with you, I usually go straight to the answer. I do these two-step equations in my head. This one's going to be -7 over 2. This one's going to be positive 7 over 2. And so the zero product property can be really quick to solve. On this one, do you guys agree that squared is the same as multiplying by itself? X minus 1 times x minus 1. And then you can clearly see that this is an application of the zero product property. And you'll get x minus 1 equals 0 twice. So you'll get 1 twice. So we've got a repeated root of 1, which means it's got a multiplicity of 2. You don't have to worry about the multiplicity, but yeah, you just realize x equals 1 is a solution twice. All right, and now here we see an application where there's 3 things multiplying together and they equal 0. Well, the zero product property still applies. X plus 1 could be 0. X minus 3 could be 0. X minus 2 could be 0. And we'll get x equals negative 1, x equals 3, x equals 2. Like so. So there we have it. Something that this that doesn't show up on here, but it unfortunately shows up on our homework, is the fact that you might have something like this: 0 equals negative 2, parentheses x minus 3, parentheses x plus 4. You could have something like this where you've got a constant as one of your factors, just negative 2. And I wanted to talk about this before I let you go, because you can do the zero product property, but negative 2 cannot equal 0. So that doesn't get you an answer there. The negative 2 doesn't help. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to, you could divide by negative 2 and get rid of it. But you'll still have x equals 3, x equals negative 4 when you set those equal to 0. So I just wanted to point that out. If you have a variable, of course, you'll get an answer, usually 0. All right, hopefully that kind of clicks, and see you next time.